6 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. I'm Brooke Taylor, the board chair. We are not on in here. You guys are. We are on to the YouTube feed. So we went ahead and did it this way so that you guys can have the experience of what it's going to be like to be sitting up there answering these questions for the public. Right now we have 9 streamers on. That number will grow throughout the night. So I will go ahead and call the meeting to order and determine if we have a quorum present. We do, because we're all 4 here. And then I will go ahead and entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. So we're now going to move directly into our agenda tonight, which is the Zone 3 trustee candidate interviews. This says Zone 2 right on the top of Zone 3.
Oh, it's just, yeah.
It's just a typo. It's okay, just a typo. So we will go ahead and start. We will go ahead and have Clerk Lamont. Have you already shared the questions to each of our candidates?
No, I thought one question at a time like we've done in the past.
On the screen this time though,
Yes.
correct? That's the question.
Tyler?
He had him.
Oh yeah, he's going to be projecting, after they ask a question, he'll project it in front of you so you know what the question is. Since we'll start with one of you and then go through the whole line and then wrap up.
Yep, and what we'll try to do is start at different times. So say if we start here, then on the next question, we'll start here so that everybody has an opportunity to be first answer for the questions.
Unless.
Unless.
Is there questions time for their answers?
We don't have that in the agenda. Clerk Lamont, do we have a time constraint for answering, or can we set that now?
We did not set a time, but you guys could limit it to 3 minutes if you choose, just because that's been the standard. But I think we did set a time that we would be completed with the interview by 8.
Okay, so do we want to set a time for 3 minutes for
I
the
think that's a
answer?
good idea.
Okay, yeah. All right, so you guys will have 3 minutes to give your answer to each interview question. A clock will appear in front of you on the screen, and what you see, we see behind you. All right? Did they explain that your mics are right in front of you? They're the little black triangles right in front of you. So just sitting there, making sure that you're projecting into that mic so that everybody can hear you. Great.
And those mics are always on. So if there's like whispering or comments or, about another candidate.
If you curse under your breath, it's
Or a
amplified.
trustee, it doesn't matter, we're gonna hear all this.
Roll your eyes. You can watch it later on camera. Yeah.
But they are always on.
They are. So we'll go ahead and start by zone with our questioning, meaning that Trustee Simpson will start us off. She's zone 1, and then Trustee Kirkman will ask last, meaning that he is zone 5, and we will start left to right like a book reads. So if Trustee Simpson wants to go ahead and start us off with our first interview question,
Tyler, are you okay with that left to right?
or do you need to change
I
it?
think he
Well, I'm
had,
working on- We lost.
Oh.
Hold on.
oh,
Pause.
he had one, I think he had,
Do you have a different way that it needs to go, Tyler?
This way.
Okay,
To
I
start
like
with.
left to right,
Right,
left to
depends on-
right.
Depends on where you're facing.
Okay, so this way. Got it. We're starting with you. But wait till we're back on my feed.
Yep.
Okay. Are we good? Okay, so we'll go ahead and start with introductions. Okay, we'll start with you first, end over there, and then start questions.
My name's Melanie Baste.
Anything else that you would like to tell us about yourself?
I've lived in Nampa since 1980,
Okay.
and the only stoplight was by the post office.
Okay, very true.
My name is Haley Day. I was a teacher for the Nampa School District for 7 years. I now currently work at the Idaho College of Osteopathic Medicine as an education course coordinator. And I absolutely love Nampa School District and the teachers and kids and administrators.
Very cool.
That's why I'm here.
I'm Megan Hayward. I am currently a stay-at-home mom. I just finished homeschooling my daughter after 3 years. I am not originally from Nampa, but it is the first place that I've ever lived in my life that has ever felt like home.
My name is Wyatt Hume, born and raised in Idaho. I'm a husband and a father, and that's why I'm here.
Ray James. I spent 47 years in education as a band director, as a school counselor, as a school psychologist. That's why I'm here.
My name is Jason Sue. I work for the Meridian Library as the assistant director overseeing all branch operations. I have children that attend NAMPA school districts, and I'm personally invested in seeing them succeed in their education. That's why I'm here.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, all of you. And those, I mean, great to hear a little bit about your passion, your purpose, and why you're here tonight. All right, with that, trustees, are we ready to start questions? Okay, so we will allow Trustee Simpson to go ahead and start us off.
Okay, so first question, again, we're starting with Melanie. What do you see as the board's roles and responsibilities?
They are responsible for budget, to determine where money goes. They're responsible for finding out what the community wants from themselves for the education of their children and finding out a way to provide those needs for them. I think it's a very active role. I hope the budget kind of sounds crazy because I can't do that at home, but I'm going to learn if I need to. I just feel that it's really, really important that the community works together to take care of the kids and all of the staff that really need some help and some caring people.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
I think this is a multifaceted question. The role of the board really is to bridge the gap between the community and our schools. But first and foremost, for our students, we're advocating for our students. If we didn't have our students, we wouldn't be here. And so we are going to set policies. We're going to put a budget in place. We're going to work with the community all in a way that's going to come back to our students and benefit our students. And that will be my hill I die on every time.
Thank you.
There's many different roles. I kind of echo what they say in terms of advocacy, financial oversight, policy development, but also in the realm of accountability and continuous improvement of the district itself.
I think the board's biggest role is going to be the voice of the community. That's who we are. We're the board's the community. So we need to make sure that community is being heard. And the board takes into account what the community wants. Budgets, safety, I think, is a priority. So the liaison between the community and administration.
Thank you.
The role of the board really is two things. It's to set budget and set policy for the educational benefit of all students.
Thank you, Mr. James.
I believe the role of the board is twofold. One of it is to provide accountability and oversight of the superintendent and be a sounding board for personnel matters, budget matters, policy matters, things like that. Secondly, we are representatives. We're broken up into zones for a reason. It's a large school district. It gives us ability for us to connect with members of the community and relay messages, concerns back to the school board, superintendent, administration.
Thank you. Trustees, any more time for a little breaks before we move on to the next question? Or are we good to go to the next question?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Okay, so Trustee Valle, that'll be you. And Tyler, do we need to start in that same order every time? We can now go ahead and switch, and instead of starting with Melanie, we could start with Haley. Okay.
Okay. So Ms. Day, or Mrs. Day,
Mistake.
Ms. Day, how would you handle a request if approached by an individual by special interest groups? How would you handle a request if approached by an individual or a special interest group?
Okay. I think listening to hear what they have to say. Transparency is the most important thing in situations like that. You can hear someone out without agreeing or making promises or committing to something that you're not able to commit to. But letting someone know that they've been heard and setting up an appropriate boundary for what they can expect from you in that conversation, and not making false promises would be the first step, and then bringing others to the table and others to the conversation that need to be involved. Private conversations in situations like that may not be the best interest.
Okay, thank you.
I think making sure that they feel heard is extremely important, especially when we're living in a day and age where people don't tend to listen actively. I think that active listening can make the biggest difference in everything that we do, especially when we're being approached by someone who might be emotional. Active listening, setting appropriate boundaries is a really good idea, and not over-promising and under-delivering ever.
Mr. Hume?
I'm going to talk a lot about community tonight because, again, we are community, and that's who the community appoints us to kind of do their speaking. So I think if it's a reasonable request, I think we bring it to the table, and as a board, we discuss that and decide what the best outcome or solution would be to that request.
Thank you. Mr. James?
It depends on what kind of request is made. There are requests that could be made of a board member that might be appropriate. If it's a request that has something to do with a child in school, a particular situation, that should, be listened to, obviously, but then be referred back to the point of contact. Have they contacted the teacher or the staff member involved? Have they contacted administration? Have they gone through the process to see if whatever the issue is can be resolved? Person does have a right to speak publicly at a board meeting.
Thank you, Mr. James.
To repeat what some of Mr. James said, it really depends on what the request is. If it's a personal request, like, hey, the parking lot south middle school looks terrible. Is there a way you can fix it? I know that's one way. That's one conversation. If we're talking about policy requests, you need to get rid of this book. You need to stop doing this. You need to do that. I would absolutely accept the request. I would want to. What's the right word? I would want to make sure that the patrons' concerns are heard and that they're validated in what they believe. But ultimately, that request would need to go through the school, and I would partner with Dr. Russell and find out, and the board obviously, to find out what exactly policies and procedures are in this instance. Where if somebody says, "Hey, I want to remove a book," well, listen, I don't have the authority to just you're allowed to remove books. We have to go through a proper process. So really, it all depends on the request and how it should be handled. But those are the two ways I would see it.
Thank you. Wonderful. How are you guys doing up there? Good? Good. All right, we're going to...
Wait, we're missing.
Oh, Melanie, thank goodness for the board. See? Melanie, I'm so sorry. Please.
That's all right. The old nurse in me and LPN instructor learned way back then. Listening is really, really important, and letting them have a feeling that you really care and you really want to listen. People just want somebody to hear them. They don't want an answer. They just want to think that somebody cares. And there's a whole lot of different cares out there. You have to have the ear and the want and the interest to be able to hear them out. Sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes you have to have your fingers crossed behind your back. But being patient and caring is very, very important.
Thank you. All right, trustees, anything else or person that I'm missing or any more time we need for notes, or are we good to move on to question 3? Any questions at this time? No? Okay. All right, question 3. Megan, this one's going to go to you. In a school board setting, there may be instances where the board members have different or differing priorities or agendas. How would you work to align the board's collective goals and priorities to best serve the interest of the students and the community?
I think it's really important as a school board to present some sort of a united front. I think it's extremely unprofessional to be in a public meeting and have disagreements in front of public meetings. I think that's something that could not and should not be allowed to happen. In terms of different ideas, I think that's something that needs to be hashed out and talked about behind closed doors so that we are able to present the united front in terms of public spaces and public meetings.
Thank you, Megan.
That question is really hard to read, by the way.
It's very long. So I will go ahead and I will repeat that, and if needs be, do we have an extra copy of the questions by chance that they can pass down?
We do, but they're all the questions.
Maybe.
Oh, they're all that part? Oh, they're all the questions.
Maybe we can just.
Okay, I'm going to reread it for you. So it says, in a school board setting, there may be instances where the board members have differing priorities or agendas. How would you work to align the board's collective goals and priorities to best serve the interests of the students and the community?
Yeah, I think, like was already said, disagreements need to be not in a public setting. So if we take care of that, figure out if it's actually, we're all on the same page and it is the best interest of the students and the community is behind it, and we can work through that and get it done. But it has to be, the community's got to be behind it, and it's got to be with the best interest and not just your agenda.
Okay. Mr. James,
Well.
do you want me to repeat the question for you? I will
No,
gladly do
think
so.
so.
Okay.
I don't think it's extremely important that 5 board members need to speak with a single voice or have a single point of view. I think that's why there are 5 different board members. Different people have different points of view. I think those viewpoints should be well aired in a professional manner. Once the board makes a decision, 3 members of the board constitutes a majority. Once that decision is made, that is a board policy. But I do believe that different viewpoints should be respectfully heard and understood.
Thank you, Mr. James.
In the constitutional republic, we're allowed to have their opinions and ideas. I don't know if I want to be on a school board where everyone thinks the same. I don't know if I want to be part of that thinking process. I want to be challenged. I've stated in my interview packet, I'm open to listening to ideas. I'm not married to one idea. I'm here for the best interest of the children and the best interest of the students and how we can achieve those goals. So that's the mindset I come with. I really want to come in with an open mind, listen to everybody and find out what everyone has to say and then make decisions based on that.
Thank you. Melanie.
We also have to remember that there's policies and procedures for everything, and there's all kinds of state law and federal law that we also have to abide by. And you need to have a check and balance of making sure that you aren't breaking rules, that you are fulfilling all of those duties that you have the responsibility from the state feds. And that's a lot to be responsible for. A lot of going back and finding out for yourself and trying to understand, because a lot of that is not easy to read and understand the way it's put. But definitely having to have discussions about coming up with a decision to be able to make the correct decision for the community and the district. It's really important.
Thank you. I did not offer to reread the question for you. Are you okay with that? Because I can reread it. You did fine. I just wanted to make sure because I didn't offer. Haley, would you like?
Showing up there?
Yeah,
It's going back.
Oh, good. They fixed it. I haven't even looked. Wonderful. Now I don't have to worry about it. Great. Thank you.
Thank you for doing
Thank you, Tyler. Yes.
in a society that has increasingly become so extreme and volatile in a lot of instances, I think the board has a perfect opportunity to model to the community how to respectfully disagree and how to have respectful discourse. Confrontation can be healthy. And it just depends on how it's done and how you respect the humanity of the individual that you're talking with. An opportunity that the board has is we have a unifying goal, and that's the Nampa School District mission and vision. Everything's going to come back to the Nampa School District mission and vision, and if we have that at the heart, and if I know, like, Jeff and I have polar opposite views on something, but if I know that his heart is for kids and his heart is for the mission and vision of the Nampa School District, I'm not gonna demonize him. We're gonna find some common ground and we're gonna work on it.
Great. Thank you. All right.
That response.
Not calling you out, Jeff.
No, I appreciate that response.
Trustee Kirkman, you are up, and Mr. Hume.
Collaboration often involves compromise and finding common ground. Can you describe a situation where you had to compromise your own ideas or priorities to support a collective decision or an initiative?
I'd say my current job in management, hiring younger people can be tough, work ethic wise, attendance and stuff like that. So you got to kind of set to keep the ball rolling. You kind of got to lower the standard a little bit until you can get that person trained up into a good, healthy position. So it's kind of one of those things where you got to bend a little bit to get the final resolution of a full-time employee and good employment.
Thank you, Mr. Hume. Mr. James?
I guess I could think of times when I worked as a school psychologist in this district, working with special ed teams, working with parents, working with families. I may come into a meeting with a particular idea or a particular direction I think would be best for the child, but working within that team, from hearing from lots of different viewpoints, I think the team always came up with a better decision than any one person could have come up with.
Thank you, Mr. James. Mr. Sue?
I struggle with this answer because do we need a compromise? Right? Do we need to lower our standards in order to find common ground? Or do we find a way to raise everyone's standards up to say that this should be the bar? We're talking about our children, right? So do we need to go, well, I'm gonna lower the bar here. I'm gonna compromise. So I struggle with that thinking. I understand. We do need to find common ground, but I would like to look at the other direction and say we need to find ways to raise everyone's thinking up into a higher level. We're in leadership, we're in management, we're executives. We need to be looking from 15,000 foot, to use a terminology from the board meeting, we need to be looking at a 15,000 foot view of all this and finding a solution and raising everyone's standards up.
Thank you, Mr. Sue. Melanie?
One collaboration. Some days I feel like I collaborate with people all day long and I don't even work. Probably my most recent one is my foster son wanting to quit school and doing everything he could to even get kicked out, and coming up with a compromise that would keep him safe and feel okay about what he was doing, and we all felt okay about what he was doing. It was a terrible, terrible time. It seems like it was 100 years ago now. I'm gonna cry through it. In nursing, you do those types of things probably every single day. And you have to, you just do them. You have difficult things that you have to put your heads together to get through a shift. Not easy. There's a lot that I've had to collaborate with over the years. Teaching LPN students, sometimes you have to really hit your head against the wall. You keep the student in a program, or you have to let them go because you know that it's not going to be okay. Same thing with employees. They just aren't getting there. How do you get to that decision to need them to go. These are hard decisions.
Thank you. Haley?
This for me was teaching day in and day out. Effective teaching teams, you are going to have ideas, you're going to have things that you think are going to work really well. But when you're on a team, you collaborate and you have a teaching team. And the teams that I've been on that have been the most effective have been the teams when we've been able to put aside my idea or your idea, and we come together back to that common vision, to our common goal of what is it that we want for our students, what is the outcome, and then how are we going to get there. When we can focus on those things and let go of the individualized aspects of it, it's a lot easier to find success. Not always perfect.
Thank you, Haley. Megan?
I think every aspect of our lives is made up of collaboration and compromising on certain ideas and priorities. I think human nature kind of allows us to feel like our ideas and our priorities are the best ideas and the best priorities that anyone could possibly think of, because it's just coming from your own internal self. You can't imagine really thinking any other way. I think being part of an effective family requires collaboration and compromise. I think being part of a collective team and a workforce requires collaboration and compromise. I think that's just part of being a community, is compromising and communication and collaboration. In terms of one particular I can't think of one particular instance. I think that it's just kind of been integrated into my whole life, whether it's been at work or at home. There's always got to be some sort of collaboration, communication, and compromise. And it doesn't mean that you have to compromise your values. It's just compromising an idea or a priority. I think that's a lot different than compromising a value or a standard.
Thank you. Trustee Simpson, we are now back to you, and we will start with Mr. James.
Thank you. Please describe your experience and expectations working with professional and executive staff while fostering a positive and collaborative relationship.
Second, please.
Yep, no problem.
Okay. During my stint as a school psychologist, I spent 6 years as the state delegate to our national organization. That's one representative from each state, plus DC, plus Puerto Rico, I believe. Rather large group, working with rather large budget, working with some really interesting issues, a lot of collaboration went on, a lot of working with professional executive staff, the complete executive staff in Washington, D.C., very positive, very collaborative issues, even though there were many differences of opinion, as you can imagine, with 52 people from around the country trying to run an organization. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Mr. James. Mr. Sue?
You know, I'm lucky right now. I get to work in a library environment, and I work with people that have advanced degrees, multiple people with master's degrees, very passionate about education, very passionate about learning. There's a great book out there by Kim Scott, and I try to set the expectation as much as I can that we can have frank conversations with each other. We can argue, we can disagree, but at the end of the day, our goal is to focus on what matters, right? Our mission, which in this case is children and their education. So that's the expectation I have. I whether I'm at the school district, whether I'm at a state government digital broadband conference, in a collaborative like that, there's always opportunities for us to speak frankly and openly with each other without having to worry about well, I don't think Brady's gonna like me. I don't think Wyatt's gonna like me. I don't think Jeff's gonna like me, or Mandy. It's really about us really hashing out those disagreements and being open with each other, so we can have so we can have a collaborative experience and learn from each other.
Thank you, Mr. Sue. Melanie?
I was trying to think, I think my best example is, working in a nursing home or assisted facility. That we would have care plan conferences and an entire group of, the professionals from the facility and family, and lots of times, special physicians would need to be in that group. And we would all need to sit down with one goal for one resident, to try to make the best that we could for them and to listen to everybody with their concerns and to be able to come up with one distinct plan that everybody could put in place.
Okay. Thank you, Melanie. Haley?
I think the start of this is, I'm not perfect and I'm still growing, I'm still learning, and that will be a lifelong pursuit. I've had a lot of opportunities through my teaching experience to be able to collaborate as an instructional coach in the building that I was in. That got to the core of what it was, building relationships first, which is also the core of my philosophy of education. Relationships are key and instrumental to students being able to succeed and creating those safe environments. So when you create a safe environment in the relationships that you have and in the communication that you have with others, then you're going to be able to get to the heart of the issues that you're working on.
Thank you. Bacon?
In my experience, I've worked in a couple different executive roles, and I've worked with different companies between mortgage and marketing and consulting. And the one tie that all had in common that I really appreciated is there was some level of trust between myself and my coworkers and people that I was collaborating with. We trusted each other to be respectful, to be active listeners, to really in general be respectful of each other's viewpoints, even if we disagreed on the approach to take in any given situation or in any given project. And I think that level of trust is what promoted a positive and collaborative environment, honestly.
Thank you. Wyatt?
I will talk to doing security for NCAA football games where you have 5 different agencies there that all have the same goal. And at the end of the night, it was a safe, nothing crazy happened event. All the patrons came in, had a good time, and left. No one got hurt. So when you put 5 different agencies doing that, that's 5 different ways that they're going to get to that point. And it's that level of trust across the executives of those agencies that we all have the same goal. And that applies to the board is, we'll have 5 different opinions on something, but our goal is all the same, that the kids are going to come to school, be safe, and the community is going to be heard.
Thank you. All right, we will now move over to Trustee Valle and to the next question.
Okay.
6.
Future trustee, whoever you are. Okay, who's going to answer next?
It's
Oh,
Mr. Sue.
So are you acquainted? I can't even say that.
Acquainted.
Acquainted. I have an accent.
And English isn't his first
Are
language.
you acquainted? Oh my gosh. With the specific needs of our disabled community? And if so, what do you feel you bring to the role of trustee to help our children that deal with disabilities gain a deserving education?
I am acquainted. We built a brand new 15,000 square foot library in North Meridian. And one of the things that we built into this facility was a sensory room. Kids go to libraries. Parents bring their families to libraries. Most of the kids can handle a loud program with story time, but there are people who don't have that ability. So we built a sensory room that allowed a parent to be able to remove their child from that space into a space that's much quieter, a lot of tactile, a lot of feeling, a lot of sensory, calming features. So in the last 2 years, I've taken a crash course on ADA, automatic door openers, sensors, 1996 ADA code regulations, and all these other things. Just to be familiar, just to make sure that we can build a space that the kids would love and appreciate. It's not just the trustees' jobs, it's Dr. Russell's jobs, it's Mr. Stoffer's job, it's everybody's. We need to make sure that education is accessible for everybody. Everyone deserves a chance, right? We talk about equality, equality of opportunity, and that's what we're here for.
Thank you. Melanie, we're on to you.
This one's hard. My daughter's 33. She's in a wheelchair. She was in some special ed classes. She went to District 3 classes her whole life or so. Every kid is different. Every family is different. Their needs are totally different. Their wants are totally different. You aren't going to get all of those needs or wants done, but you certainly need to see what you can do and what you really can accomplish and follow through with. That's a really rough one. I'm kind of prejudiced, you guys. There are a lot of needs that aren't being met out there in the community and in schools for all these people and for us. I have a wheelchair van. Do you know how many places I can't park and all the parking spots are backwards? Do you know how many doors we can't get into? Do you know how many schools are old and they really can't use that bathroom safely by themselves? So what do? There's so much more that needs to be done. These kids deserve a chance, like everybody else, just like me, just like you. And it's not easy because there's a lot of needs. And they have the right to have a public education and to have some adaptation happen.
Thank you, Melanie. Haley?
This one is also something that's very near and dear to my heart. Elementary education wasn't my degree, then special education was going to be it. All of my summer jobs, I spend the school year, up until recently, I spent the school year working in Nampa School District, and then my summers were spent working in developmental agencies or self-directed care. I spent a summer working at a special needs summer camp in Pennsylvania. And I know the power of inclusion. I know the need that we have to have all kids included at all levels and the strength that brings to our communities. And so that is something that I will be very passionate about on the board, making sure that there's opportunities, making sure that our kids that are in a mainstream classroom or a typical classroom have opportunities to connect with kids at all ability levels and that they can all just learn and grow from each other, and that we are giving them every opportunity that we can. This pulls in equity as well. Equity and those conversations need to be pulled into this topic.
Thank you, Haley. Megan?
So while I'm not acquainted with the specific needs of our disabled community here in Nampa, I am open to learning a lot more about it. And when it comes to equality of opportunity, I think that's of the utmost importance, regardless of your physical or mental capabilities. I think that our role as a school district and as a school board is to make sure that our community does have equal access to education and equal opportunities across the board.
Thank you, Megan. Why?
In my current role in public education, I'm very familiar with the laws and codes that are compliant with ADA. As far as what we can do to give a deserving education, I think that would fall back on meeting with admin throughout the district, the special ed departments throughout the district, meeting with community members who have those children that may need some special help with whatever it is, and just coming up with what can we offer, what can we do, and having those conversations.
Thank you, Wyatt. Mr. James?
Might be a question to something I asked. I spent decades and decades doing this. I think I'm going to take a little different tack than the other folks have here. I think, first of all, there are so many regulations and rules and laws dealing with special education. I mean, the manual is like that thick, and it changes every time there's a new lawsuit. I think one of the things that really needs to happen is it goes back to the federal government. They promised when they started the special education law in 94-142 that they would fully fund it at 40%. Since when is 40% full? They have consistently funded it at about 18 or 19%. There's a money issue that really prevents teachers from doing what they know should be done. There's a staff issue. Those special ed teachers are dealing with some of the more difficult children in the district, compounded by paperwork that you cannot believe. When I was a school psychologist, every report I wrote, every word was written with, can I defend this if I'm in court? And the one time I could. Funding is a huge issue. Qualified teachers is a huge issue. So if I were on the board, I would take the tack of going toward the state, toward government issues to provide better funding, better training for teachers. I would take that direction. The folks that are in there are working their tails off.
Thank you, Mr. James. Mr. Sue? Oh, you did. Sorry. Okay, so with that, you went first. So Melanie, we're back to you. Question 7. As a trustee, we stand united even if decisions made are not something we believe or agree with. As a trustee candidate, I assume that you have knowledge and have done your homework of the decisions that have been made that some may consider controversial in nature. Are you willing to stand united with the board even if decisions are made that you do not believe or agree with?
You're ruffling my feathers. Yeah. When you come up with a decision, you have to stand behind the decision.
My favorite was the no, but yeah.
That's part of life, okay? If you have to have a conviction about everything that you don't agree with every day, you're gonna die young. Or you're gonna be the blank never die. So I'm not real sure, but when someone comes up with a decision and it's a collaborative decision, you have to go with that decision. And you can go home and rant and rave about it at home.
Thank you, Melanie. Haley?
I appreciate this question. This gets to the heart of humanity. This gets to the heart of seeing someone as an individual, seeing someone as a person. I don't agree with everything that's been done by this board. I'll be transparent. But I have gone through a process of coming to understand how a decision is made and the importance of listening and the importance of asking questions and the importance of pressing pause. I'm not perfect at it, but that is something that I am very much committed to because I'm going to come back to it. I love the students of the Nampa School District and I love the teachers of the Nampa School District. And because I love the students and teachers of the Nampa School District, I'm going to do what I need to do and I'm going to be the best advocate that I can. And that means fostering relationships and coming to see things in new ways and just diving in, leaning into humanity.
Thank you, Haley. Megan?
I think as long as there's a level of trust and understanding that these decisions were reached with the well-being of the students, of the kids, and the well-being, then mainly, and secondly, the well-being of the teachers. and the well-being of the community in mind, then I don't see why I couldn't stand united with the school board on any decision.
Thank you, Megan. Wyatt?
If we're talking controversial in nature, then I guess my answer is going to be a little controversial. And it goes beyond me. This goes back to the community. If the community does not agree with something that is said in here, their voice, so how can I stand with that? I'll stand up here because that's what I'm signing up to do. But I won't go with something I don't agree with, and I won't go with something that the community doesn't agree with.
Thank you, Wyatt. Ray?
There have been many controversial decisions made in recent years by the board. That's why a number of us are here. That's why I believe different viewpoints are very important on the board. I think all of those viewpoints need to be listened to and respected. Once the board makes a decision, 3 members voting control and make decisions for the board. That would be the board's decision. That doesn't mean that I stop in a professional, courteous way, trying to gain a better decision for students or for the district if I believe that's the decision that was made is an incorrect decision for students.
Mr. Sue?
I don't think there's any question that we are currently living in a very polarized society. And it goes back to which is what Ken Scott's book, being very open and honest with each other. We have to be able to have open and honest disagreement with each other. What is our goal at the end of the day? Our goal is to make sure the children get the best education they can get. And we're also the adults in the room. And we have to show the children that adults who disagree with each other can get along with each other. And I would absolutely support, even though I would disagree with the decision, I would absolutely support the boards and stand united with the board and with the administration and the decisions that are made, because we need to show these kids that we can function as society. And that's how we stand united.
Thank you, Mr. Sue. And I'm probably going to steal radical candor. That was it. Yeah, that was good. We started with you, Melanie, correct, on this one? And that was me. So Trustee Kirkman, you are at question 8. And on to Mrs. Day, or Miss Day.
Miss Day. Haley, are there groups or individuals that you feel are being marginalized in Nampa School District? And if so, as a trustee, what do you feel needs to be done?
Yeah, I do. I do feel like there are groups that are being marginalized. I think that there are groups that are marginalized in our society. I think that we need to continue the conversations that we have been having. I think that we need to bring in those that are marginalized. I think that we need to keep an open mind and to do our best to not put policies in place that continue to marginalize them. And I know that statement is a little pointed. At the same time, recognizing that there is, it's a process that we're all working on together, and we all just need to be willing to do the work to make sure that we're acknowledging where we can acknowledge and make changes where we can't change.
Thank you, Haley. Megan.
I think we need to be careful in how we use marginalized. I think that it's a word that is thrown out much too often. And I think it's something that, especially when we're talking about children, they can take on as their own identity, and that can lead to a lack of self-empowerment on their end and a lack of confidence on their end as well. I don't know that there are any particular groups in Nampa School District particularly that are actually marginalized. I think that equal opportunity does not mean equal outcome. And that's important to keep in mind as we look at the policies and the procedures and look at the things that we can control and the things that we cannot.
I may also be taking equal opportunity does not mean equal outcome. You guys are really coming up with some good just one-liners here. Wyatt?
Yeah, I'm not sure if there are specific groups within the school district that are marginalized. I can think of other school districts that maybe have put stuff in place or attempted to put stuff in place and it got shot down for good reason. I think majority of student safety is top priority and we can't bend to a small few that want something specific.
Mr. James?
I don't know if marginalized is the right word, but there was one group of students when I was working in this district that I felt was not getting the fair shake that they should get. And that's the group of gifted students. Finally, a few years ago, we started to identify gifted students in the elementary schools. But as far as the instruction that they were getting, the learning that they were getting, when I was in the district, I didn't feel like they were getting what their needs were being met. And gifted kids learn differently than us normal folks. I really think that's an area that those are our future leaders. That's an area that really I feel need to be addressed.
Thank you, Mr. James. Mr. Sue?
Yeah, with this question, I feel like there's a victim mentality here of try to compartmentalize and try to find ways to be offended by things. And I'm the son of immigrants. I'm a second generation Chinese American. My kids have been called yellow at school. My kids have been insulted. At some point you have to have thick skin in the game in order to be able to live in this world. I do want to know more. You know, I do want to hear people. I do want to talk to them and find out. I have been approached by a parent who said, it's tough to go to high school because my kids are Mexican and they're constantly being stopped. They're constantly being, you know, whatever the case may be. Those are the conversations I have. I think we underestimate the amazingness of the American people. And that's what I teach my kids, that excuse the expression. It was a white man, a Baptist, that sponsored my family to come to this country. Their church paid for clothes. Their church collected money for us to have a place to stay. All they did was show love. And that's the America I know. Those are the Americans I know. So for me, I really have to hear from people what's going on the one case by case basis. And I wonder if it's a lot smaller than we imagine it to be.
Thank you, Mr. Sue. Melanie?
There's been some articles in the newspaper recently about some issues with the Hispanic community in nampa.school. And it's not just here, it's everywhere. I read an article today that Idaho was one of the 18 states in the country that still have corporal punishment. And how many kids are not hit or spanked or whatever, but the incidence of it happening in someone who is Black or Hispanic is dramatically higher. And it's happening here in Yuba too, so.
Thank you, Melanie. And
I already did that.
okay, I was gonna say it, Haley, I think we started with you. Okay, that's right. And Trustee Kirkman asked. All right, trustees, are there any other questions or any follow-up questions that you guys may have for the trustees at this time? Or excuse me, for the candidates at this time?
No, sorry. You want to go ahead and go? Oh, I thought
I
so.
know it's a surprise, Marco, but I don't have anything to say.
I was also surprised. I just want to throw that out there. Trustee Simpson?
Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, perfect.
No, I was just wanted to thank you all. I mean, this is really telling. I came up with that question about the marginalized thing. Just because I wanted to see how you guys looked at the word marginalized, if you really understood the meaning of it. And I really appreciated some of your answers. I do believe with my heart that you all want to do your best. I can tell by your answers. I can tell that you guys want to be committed to this and to help the students, because to me, that's what it's all about. Now, we're all do it in different ways, and sometimes we do argue. I will tell you, I don't think I've ever talked to them about anything, because when we come to our meetings, we're supposed to come prepared, and this is where we kind of do the argument. So it's one of those things where you guys on camera get to see us in action and how we really act, and that's how it's going to be. So I appreciate you guys trying to put your foot on this and trying to make yourselves known for what you stand for. And good luck.
So, yes, of course you can ask a question, Melanie,
You
please.
guys did a very good putting all of the questions together.
Thank you.
Very, very thoughtful. Not very easy,
No,
but very, very thoughtful.
thank you. I feel like we've learned a lot this last few years together. Thank you. Please.
One, I just want to echo, thank you. I think most people know the increase in the number of meetings that have had to happen over the last few years, and the increase in scrutiny across the board of boards of any kind, right, that are serving public office, and to be willing to serve and do that. I just completely respect that of all of you. I would echo what Trustee Vice said, like we got a hard decision in front of us, because I think you all care deeply for our kids and our community, and that's a great problem to have, the way I'm looking at it. And hopefully you guys knowing that we will have to come to a decision, and there will be only one person to fill that seat. But I really just genuinely hope that we get to see and work with every single one of you moving forward within this role. Because I think Nampa is lucky to have all 6 of you. Thank you.
Trustee Kirkman, you still?
I'm sticking to my gun. I
Okay.
wanted
If I can
to surprise.
Okay, Trustee Vice.
It's good because Monday is awesome. She has reminded me that, what did you remind me of?
Not sure.
We're not sure.
Oh, I totally blew it.
Okay.
Welcome to my life. Keep going. We'll come to me here in a second.
Okay. So, do you guys have any quick questions for us, or anything that maybe needs to be clarified? Trustee Simpson, before I thank you and give you my parting words, Trustee Simpson, lots of time making sure that you've all gone back through, watched some meetings to know there are times where we have to meet multiple times per month. That time commitment is very real. There's no pay for this job. It's very rewarding and fulfilling. I've changed more in the last year and a half of my life than I probably had in the previous 5 before. So there's a lot of growth capacity here. There truly is. And I have been grateful for the experience. So it's rewarding. It really is. And you should be proud of yourself that you've put your foot out to be truly in service work, because this is children, community, and those 2 things are fundamentally what make life go round. So really, I agree. Kudos to you for being here. And with that, if there are any questions, we would gladly answer them for you now, if anybody has one. Nope.
I guess I'll ask the obvious, what are the next steps?
Trustee Taylor, or
Clerk Lamont.
Clerk Taylor, or Sam, I don't know how to rough days. Chair Taylor.
Yes, ma'am.
I was just about to say that. You're reading my mind. So the board is going to be opening up public written comments until the special board meeting on August 30th. So there will be a special board meeting on August 30th, which is a Wednesday at 6 p.m. And they're in hopes of appointing a trustee on that evening. So they will open up public comment, written form, to be sent to them prior to that meeting.
Correct. So we will be able to take possible action that night. Now, just because we can take action doesn't mean that we will. It doesn't mean that we won't. And obviously, as Clerk Lamont said, it is our hopes that we would appoint that night. Then you will be sworn in our meeting in September,
A regular.
our regular board meeting. And the reason I say that is public comment, you never know what can happen. If trustees feel unsolved, they may want some additional information, which the meeting gives us the ability to do. We are not actually able to collaborate outside of meetings in any form or fashion regarding board business, so we can't discuss you amongst ourselves. We really have to rely now on our constituents, our conversations within our zones, maybe things that we need to discuss with whoever our support groups are when we make these decisions, but it cannot be each other. Okay, it's different. Like I said, it's different. So,
Open meeting laws.
yep, open meeting law violations, which one of you very lucky candidates may be learning. So with that, I do want to sincerely thank you guys. It was very refreshing tonight to hear such a variety of answers, very well thought out. The compassion spoke through. We just appreciate you being here and taking the time because, like I said, this is service work. And a lot of us come from jobs or other things that we're doing and other commitments. So just being here is showing up for your community, and bravo to you. So,
So I am gonna take my.
okay. And Marco may want to speak again.
It's just simply a heartfelt thanks. I appreciate it. I appreciate you standing up and stepping out and being exposed. This is exactly what you will be, is exposed. And it takes a special kind of a person to be able to do that, stand up for our kids. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ditto. Trustee Vai, last choice, last chance.
No, I'm exposed.
All right. With that, this meeting is adjourned. We are officially no longer in meeting. I would love to come up and just meet each of you officially. I'm sure our other trustees want to as well if you want to hang out for just a moment.
We all did.
Oh, you did. I was the only one. I was the